Oh, wait, the clerk is not distracted. Madam Clerk, we ready? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our 6:30 session of the July 10th Watsonville City Council. First of all, we'll have a roll call, please.
Bielisich,
Present.
Huffman Gomez,
Present.
Dutra,
Here.
Garcia,
Here.
Hernandez,
Present.
Hurst.
Here. Thank you very much. Please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We're going to do our consent agenda, but first of all, there are agendas in the back if you so wish to have one to follow along. We ask that anyone addressing the council fill out a blue card so that we'll have a record of your comments and the proceedings. So let's, first of all, there is a report of disbursements and miscellaneous documents that you can view. We have the consent agenda. Anyone wishing to speak on the consent agenda, this is a good time to do it prior to our approval of the agenda. So if you'd like to speak on an item on the agenda, this would be the time. Please announce your name to be part of the permanent record.
Sure. Good afternoon. I'm Maria Elena de la Garza from the Community Action Board of Santa Cruz County. Good afternoon. It's good to see you all. I just wanted to speak on the consent agenda regarding the resolution, and I want to congratulate you on the resolution urging the Trump administration, the U.S. Department of Justice, and Congress to keep families together. I want to congratulate you and staff for bringing forth this important document and really taking a stand for our community. We know who makes up our community, and it's such an important opportunity to give voice and to give peace for people who are living in fear. With that said, I'd like to make a suggestion. If we could add maybe some local language. And I took the liberty of drafting some thoughts that I would be happy to share with you. If we could add something like, be it further resolved that the City Council of the City of Watsonville openly affirms the contributions of local immigrants who make up our community and is committed to create a safe environment where all can thrive. I think we need to add a local flair, and I leave that to the council to see if we can add that. I'd also like to take this opportunity to share that SCIP, the Santa Cruz County Immigration Project, has extended hours, and the community may not know that. And so I'd love to give this to you, and if you could take it back to your districts and to people watching at home to know we have extended hours from 9 to 5 on most days, and on Wednesdays we're open till 7 p.m. It is now the most critical time for people to get the services that they need in terms of immigration. Thank you very much. Can I share?
Thank you very much. And with that, I would like to motion part of our approval to include that language. Did you catch all that? Do you need to have that rephrased?
I will get it.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Gary Richard Arnold, on number B and then also on J. Number B, you're designating a couple of members and an alternate for the California League of Cities. Most people don't know that when they vote for one of you up there, you're taken to the California League of Cities, which trains you how to deal with us out here, even as to looking at the person speaking and how to not engage and a lot of other things. The California League of Cities also gives out a Charles Merriam Award, who was part of Rockefeller's 1313 at the University of Chicago. They created a number of positions and created them to make them look like they're trade associations, which would include your city managers, your finance people, and so forth. And what they do in their monthly newsletters that usually the taxpayer pays for the staff to participate in is they sell globalism 24/7 in order to create a North American Union and COGS, a council of government, like AMBAG, which is never shown or talked about by the people here. Also, on number J, I think it's outrageous that you have somebody that was never elected making policy, and that goes to the lady that was just here on resolution number J. The Mexicans are screwed by your city council and the board of supervisors because what you're having is allowing the drugs, you're allowing the gangs, you're allowing the Mexicans that have been here that are legal undercut their wages day in and day out. You're making Driscoll happy, you're making Panetta happy, you're making all of these organizations real happy, but the Mexicans here are being forced to subsidize illegal immigration. This is not for the United States. This is in order to destroy the United States by destroying borders. And I would encourage you, how can you have requested by an assistant city manager and you're making actions on it? That has to be illegal and you know it. This is outrageous. And the Mexican Americans that live here and do it legally and pay their taxes are sick and tired of having to pay schools for illegals time after time. Set up a Bracero program and stop destroying American sovereignty and the individuals that pay you to represent them. This is by an assistant city manager. You didn't even bring it up. This is outrageous. This is illegal.
Thank you very much for your comments, Mr. Arnold. Could we have another speaker, please?
Gladly. Steve Trujillo, City Personnel Commissioner and candidate for District 7 City Council this year. I want to, if possible, completely note the last speaker's comments were racist, elitist, and borderline anti-American. I am a third-generation Mexican-American. I am glad if I subsidize those who did not come across the border with papers. They work hard. They work behind me in the fields, picking the raspberries. They work out in the fields of all the other crops. They work at labor that pays very little money, hard work all day long. I trust them as my neighbors. I am proud to live in Watsonville. I am delighted that this lady came up with the language that she wanted to make it personal or local for Measure J. I support it. And if the assistant manager isn't good enough to request it, I will. I will do so. I also want to speak to B, the California League of Cities. It's a wonderful organization. It is important that we attend. And no, the California League of Cities does not teach council members not to engage. I have engaged with every single one of you and had wonderful conversations with all of you. It's one reason why I am running for Nancy's seat, because of her encouragement and her conversations with me. And I thank you, Nancy, for that. And along with Jimmy Dutra, who I'll be voting for county supervisor, God bless you, has been a wonderful inspiration to me. All of you have been, including you, Mayor. You are truly one of a kind. So again, my voice is shaking because I am so angry at the last speaker, but I want you to know that this person loves and respects all the people, all the residents of Watsonville, whether they came across the border with papers or not. There are no illegal people.
And thank you for your comments. We're speaking to the consent agenda now. Does anyone else wish to address us on the consent agenda that we have before us?
Yeah, I want to be able to just remind members of the public what it is to be good Americans.
Can you announce your name, please, for the public?
Yeah, I want to be able to speak on line item J, the resolution urging the Trump administration and the U.S. Department of Justice.
Your name, sir?
Yeah, my name is Victorioso Alejandro, Victorious Alexander. And as American-born Mexican, I want to be able to say this, not to this speaker, not the previous speaker, but the last speaker. The Mexican community, we don't fear. We don't fear Donald Trump administration because we know that there's good-hearted Americans out there that respect hard work, enterprise, and intelligence. The Mexican community, we're hard workers. We're enterprising, and we're intellectuals. I'm American-born Mexican, and I'm proud to be an American. And I know that the Trump administration, I know that the Republican Party is going to come at it right. You know, it just takes some time for us to push up on it with moral force, and they're going to get it right. Obama made a lot of mistakes during his administration, and we gave him time. This is not about being polarizing and divisive. We have to allow the Trump administration to do the right thing. Gary Arnold was able to speak liberating truth to political power, you know, and I want to be able to say this. We need to keep building up Santa Cruz County. I'm in exile for my political prosecution in Santa Clara County because of my effectiveness, my outspoken criticism. I'm a civil society activist. Hey, I'm in the County Board of Supervisors doing the same thing that I was doing over there in Santa Clara County. I bring the unscripted reality. You know, I'm going to speak liberating truth to political power. You know, I'm not here espousing left and right paradigm. To me, it's obsolete, right? And I just want to be able to encourage the Mexican community to just believe in the American dream and to press forward and encourage your children to pursue a higher education, and we're going to be able to do the right thing and to stand against this demonization of the Mexican community. We're hard workers, we're enterprising, and we're intellectuals. Thank you.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. Anyone else who wish to address us on the consent agenda, please? Seeing no one else rise to speak to the consent agenda, last call, we'll take this back to the council and see if the council has any comments on the consent agenda. Council? Councilmember Hernandez.
You know, I think the item that folks are speaking to is something that is very important to our community, and it shows that as a city and as a community that we have compassion. This is about, you know, the separation of families. And, you know, I can't imagine being a parent and having a child separated from me. You know, I know families that can't even, you know, let their kids go outside and play. And I can't imagine if, you know, their children are in a different country, locked up in a cage, like an animal. And so it's something that, a message, whatever we could do as a city, as a community here, we have to proceed with that, I think. And I think that, you know, this really goes to show that as a city, we still have compassion towards everyone.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Kaufman Gomez, please.
Yes, as a rule, item D and item E are over 100,000. I'd like to have just a few words spoken, if we can have the Public Works comment about the bid and the process for item D, please. I did have a question of staff on that. I don't know if it was answered.
Could you tell us which items those were one more time, please?
Item D, which is for the engineering on the Aviation Way, it's a $178,000 item.
We'll have staff answer your question.
Thank you. And the earthworks as well, in terms of the contract bid process and the turn times on that.
Mayor, members of council, I'm Tom Sharp with the Public Works Department. And we had a bid about a week ago, and we prepared an estimate for this work. It's a sewer replacement in the airport area. And we estimated the cost to be $170,000. So this put it into what the state law proscribes as informal bidding. The bid came in over 175, which is the limit, and but it was under 187, and so we were able to, by state law, bring it to council for their consideration, and the council needs to make two findings. One needs to find that the engineer's estimate was reasonable, and it has to support the bid award with a 4/5 majority. That concludes staff's report.
One question of staff is versus local versus, I believe that this particular vendor's not from the area. What is the rule that we have in terms of local bids versus bids that are the lowest price point?
We don't discriminate against bidders from out of area. We had 2 bidders that were from Santa Cruz County. Actually, we had one bidder from one bidder from Monterey County, Don Chapin Company. They were the second low bidder. And then we had a bidder from San Jose, Pacific Underground Construction, and they were the high bidder. And then Glossage Engineering, who is currently under contract with the city and maybe had an advantage because of his presence here, came in with the low bid. They're out of Richmond.
Yeah, I guess my concern here is when we see a local bid, we know the local money is being regenerated into our local economy. And I thought we had something that would allow, if the bid came in a bit higher from somebody local, that we know that the money's going to stay here, to get a little bit more attention provided than a bid from out of area because it just happens to be lower bid.
We don't have any ordinance like that. There's no rules like that. I believe state contracting law supersedes any sort of local preference.
I think we need to maybe evaluate that at one point. But thanks for the answer, or the responding.
Did you have another question?
The other question was $202,000 or $212,000 on the earthworks paving contractors. If you can just let us know a bit more about the project and timing.
I will. My name is Murray Fonts. I'm with the Public Works Department. The project involves reconstructing an existing path on Hazelwood Park, which is between Herman Avenue and Melwood Court near Rolling Hills Middle School. The city received a grant from the Urban Greening Project Program to pay for a portion of this work. The existing path is deteriorated. The city will be removing and replacing the path, doing some drainage improvements, cleaning up some of the old vegetation, removing stumps, and coupled with work by Watsonville Wetlands Watch, we'll also be doing habitat restoration. The city received 5 bids. The low bid was from Earthworks of Capitola at $212,000.
And the time for the project to either start or be completed?
The contractor has 60 working days, which is 3 months. We anticipate work beginning in August, so it would wrap up by November. That would allow Wetlands Watch to go in and plant the plants when the wet weather starts, so they can be established.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. Other comments on the consent agenda? Mr. Dutra.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm glad I had a couple speakers ahead of me because I just couldn't believe what I just witnessed in our community right now. I mean, that's real. And so I just want to say this is our community. No matter what color you are, what we see right now happening with the children at the borders is the worst of this is the worst about America. This is the ugliest part of it. Taking kids away from their families. That means that, and if you defend it, fine. I mean, it's all about having empathy. And if you can't have empathy, then that's within your own souls. And as a leader, we have to stand up and we have to defend those people who don't have voices or that their voices are stifled. If we're a leader and we're sitting down quiet and not responding to something like that, then that's a real big problem. Chuck E. Cheese has better ways of getting their kids back to their parents than what's currently going on at the border. It's true. So we need to stand up, and we need to stand up and protect the kids, protect the families. We were all immigrants once. No matter how we got here, we were all immigrants. And I'm sure the right is just loving it right now. But what we have to do is we have to stand strong because there's a lot more at stake here. And love has to win. And if you've watched throughout history, when there are topics that happen, that there's hate being spread, whether it's, marriage equality or whatever issues are happening, love wins at the end. So we need to continue standing to defend these kids, to defend the right to not be locked up in cages. That's not America. So I just have to say, you know what? I fully support the addition to make this local. We're gonna add that language. I know we had a first, we had a second. I wish I could third it. Because that in this community, in my community, that doesn't happen. So we need to make sure that we continue to have leaders, everybody in Watsonville and Santa Cruz County, that are going to stand up and be a voice for those people who don't have one. So you know what? I fully support this, and I support the language that's going to be added. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Other comments on the consent agenda? We have a motion by Kaufman Gomez, a second by Hernandez. Any discussion on the motion? Let me just say in regards to item J, keeping families together, you know, both of my children were born in Guadalajara. And, you know, we brought them here with green cards and their adoption papers and all that stuff. And I remember one time we were in vacation in Baja. We like to go camping in Baja. And my daughter was about 3 years old or so. And we came back over, and we'd been back and forth across the border numerous times. But that time, Wendy forgot some minor little issue in the paperwork. And they stopped us and they said, "Hey, what are you two white people doing with these two brown kids? And let's see your papers." And so we got the folder out and showed them all the papers, and there was little something minor missing. And they said, "Well, you guys, your wife and the baby girl are going to have to stay here until we get this figured out." And so we asked to see the supervisor, and we worked it all out. We had all our stuff most together, but it was kind of interesting, and I reflect upon that in kind of a jovial way now, because, you know, we yuck it up and make a joke out of it, but it's no joke to those children that are captured at the border, and it's no joke to those families that are separated either. And so I have a lot of empathy on that, on this item too. Thank you for allowing me to speak on that in a personal manner. We do have a motion on the floor by Kaufman Gomez, second by Hernandez on the consent agenda. Could we have roll call, please?
Ulises,
Yes.
Kaufman Gomez,
Yes.
Dutra,
Yes, no on I.
Garcia,
Yes, no on K.
Hernandez,
Yes.
first.
Yes on everything, thank you. And so approved and ordered. It's a proud day in Watsonville, I hope. Let's move on to our next agenda item. This brings us to, we had no items removed from our consent agenda, so we're going to do presentations and communications. This is item number 7, and we are very honored and pleased that first up on our agenda this evening under presentations and communications is the oath of office administered to newly elected City Council member Gonzalez from District 2. And so we're going to have the swearing in take place at this time, and it's going to be performed by Mrs. Gonzalez, Elsa Laura Fuentes Gonzalez, and the city clerk will be assisting. So congratulations in advance, a historic moment. You know, most wives get to swear at their husband. This one gets to swear him in. She may swear at you later, though. This is not a piece of cake job.
I, Aurelio Gonzalez,
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and
and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of
that
California,
I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental
or
reservations
purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
You gotta go sign, you gotta go sign.
Not done yet. Well, while you're signing the oath, congratulations. I don't think a prestigious judge in a robe could have done a better job.
Agenda.
Congratulations, Aurelio Gonzalez. Now they like to say, get to work. Let's hear from the city manager, first of all.
So going into oral communications, I wanted to be the first. I asked the mayor. What I would like to do now is to thank Mayor Hurst, Mr. Dutra. Wish I was around to have you be mayor. Thank you. It's been great, Lowell. Felipe, we had a good time as mayor. Thank you. And Nancy, thank you for hiring me as mayor. And Trina, thanks for being logical and torturing me a little bit here and there, but it's all good. Aurelio, good luck. You'll be fine.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I'm going to miss the community. I'll be looking to the west and paying attention. Thank you all. Okay? Matt, it's yours.
Thank you very much, Charles. That's okay. I didn't mean to kick it either. This does bring us to our oral communications from the public and the city council. Let's take it out to the public first, and we're glad to have any oral communications from the public. And before we get started with that, I just want to say that I was glad to see Resolution I, Mr. Casey Craig Clark appointed to the Personnel Commission. I know he has a lot of experience with special needs folks, and he'll be an asset to any group. Thank you. Please announce your name and tell us what's on your mind that's not on our agenda that you can share with us. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members, and welcome newly elected Council Member Gonzalez. My name is Noriko Akiyama Ragsack. On the 4th of July, I was a guest at the Martinelli's 150th anniversary event that was held at the Watsonville Municipal Airport. The atmosphere of the party made me feel proud to be a resident of this city. Attending the event was a mini reunion since I was able to socialize and reintroduce myself to several employees of the city, including a few council members. We either attended the same high school or were a customer at the once Ideal Dry Cleaners, or I shared personal speeches as a former member of the City Shakers Toastmasters Club. Tonight, I stand here before you to be the voice for the children, wildlife, and neighbors who are against the Loma Vista Drive future expansion. The children. Last week, a small group of us met with Mr. Jimmy Dutra. In attendance was 11-year-old Alaya, who will be taking the podium after me. She spoke passionately about how she loves listening to the birds outside her bedroom window. The trees that are in the common law area are home to those birds. If the expansion is approved, Alaya will no longer hear those birds. The wildlife. About a month ago, I rescued 6 little ducklings that were lost in our neighborhood. Recently, 6 more ducklings were wandering around Paraíso Court again. This time, the mother was frantically flying above her babies, attempting to guide them back to the slough. Would life get worse for the duck population if more cars were added to our area? The neighbors. The parking situation is very scarce in our Casitas neighborhood. When friends or family visit, I get a little stressed because I search and reserve a guest parking spot with my vehicle. Sometimes I am unsuccessful. I have grown to be a more understanding neighbor and citizen. This experience of fighting for a cause has united the Del Rio and Paraíso Court neighborhood. I see residents looking out for one another. I hope to be the voice that helps make my neighborhood a safe place to live. I ask of you council members to open your mind and clear out any thoughts that you have already made on this road expansion. Now, put yourselves in the place of the voices that cannot be heard. The children should enjoy listening to the chirping birds. The wildlife should be safe in their habitat without more vehicles driving through it. The neighbors should be free of additional cars taking away our very limited parking spaces. We all must strive for the success and longevity in the community of Watsonville. Please do not build a road through our precious lawn area. Thank you once again for your time and consideration.
Thank you for speaking. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Aleo Domingos, and I live at Paraíso Court. The grassy area is really important to me and the other kids who live here. Every chance I get, I am outside playing. The grassy area is truly the only nearby place for us kids to play badminton, wiffle ball, frisbee, run around, explore up on the hill. There's room for a bounce house or a slip and slide or even an impromptu picnic. There will be no more capability of safely riding bikes around the block. Putting a busy 2-lane road in place of our park will take away the ability of us kids being able to play outside safely in our own neighborhood. I even learned how to ride my bicycle without training wheels right outside my home. If there's a new road put here, it will take away all of our fun outside activities. Additionally, at night, my mom and dad and I used to hear an owl hooting. We look forward to it, and now that the tree that the owl used to live in has been chopped down, we no longer hear the owl. This makes me sad for the owl and the other animals that live on the trees on our park, whose home is being threatened to be torn down. Please don't take away my park, our park, and the home to our wildlife. Thank you for your time tonight.
And thank you for speaking.
Hi, my name is Bobby Domingos, and I lived in Santa Cruz County ever since my freshman year in high school. I lived in Watsonville for 14 years and for 7 years at Paraíso Court. Tonight, I stand before you as a teacher for 14 years. I taught at Landmark School, and now I'm a literacy coach. Currently, Landmark has kindergarten students bused in from Radcliffe School because they are at capacity. Our neighborhood area is home to 3 housing developments that combined will add 285 homes. The developer has opted to pay a fee to the school district, or I believe that a better approach would be to work directly with the schools that would be most impacted with these new students. It is not in the best interest of the students and their families to have them bused to a school when they should and need to be able to attend their home school. Having the developer work side by side the school will restore trust and reunite the community because they will feel like their voices are being heard. The city has agreed to allow the developer variances on the side of the backyards and driveways and side yards. If the city can allow variance for the developer, then the city can and should allow for a variance on Arrington Road that does meet the minimum requirements. I'm truly concerned about the safety for our children getting across the Loney Parkway. I've witnessed several accidents and several near misses. In fact, I almost hit some of my own students. They were just being kids and they ran out to the crosswalk, not paying attention to anything else other than seeing who could get to the other side the fastest. I am so grateful that I was not driving distracted or speeding because I would never forgive myself if I hurt one of my kids. We already have safety concerns with the current road and the current traffic flow. Making Loma Vista into a 2-lane road would only further aggravate it. The land will not stay vacant forever if you choose to ask the developer to find a different access road. It will show our community that you're giving us a chance to take part in this process so that we can work together to find a viable solution. As I stand before you tonight, I cannot offer any other new creative options on how we can find a different solution, and that is because I need you. I need all of you to work together with me, with my neighbors, and with the developer to find a safer, alternate way to get up to the California Sunshine houses. We need to make this process more transparent so that every voice of every stakeholder is heard and taken into consideration. We all need each other in order to be the best version of Watsonville. Thank you for your time.
And thank you for sticking with our time, too. Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, council members. My name is Richard Farrow. I've grown up in Watsonville, and as a child, I attended H.A. Hyde A. Hall, and then I attended North Monterey County High School. I enlisted in the Navy, and after my enlistment, when I finished, I returned to Watsonville to start a career. I make pretty decent money, which has allowed me to purchase my first home on Paraiso Court, where I currently live with my family. I live adjacent to the proposed Loma Vista Road extension. This proposed road extension would remove the only open space that is safe enough for our kids to play in. And right now, it has at least a dozen trees that would have to be removed or destroyed. I do not want this road to be built. The trees would have to be removed, and the only space for our kids to be turned into pavement. We need alternatives for this traffic access for this development. One of the alternate routes would be to use the existing road off Ohlone Parkway. If you take a close look at this existing road, you'll see that it already meets the city's minimum width requirements of 30 feet. This access will require a left-hand turn off of Ohlone Parkway, which will require restructuring the current median on Ohlone Parkway. This access road, also known as Arrington Road, is currently being used right now to access the One Stop Logistics building located below the future development site. Arrington Road is also used to access the previous business that was located on the future development site. Therefore, since this road meets the city requirements, it should be used. Not too long ago, the FedEx ground building was proposed to originally be accessed through the Loma Vista Drive. When the proposal was announced, the local neighborhood requested an alternate route. The city council voted, and that resulted in the Manabe O roundabout as the new access to the facility. Therefore, since this original plan was altered due to the concerned citizen outcry, a new entry point to the development should also be considered. What is common with moving the access is the same thing, which is traffic. Also, a possible solution would be to construct a bridge extending from the Ford Road directly to the development site, right over the slough. Yes, this could be expensive, but so are the bridges across the slough that connect the Ohlone Parkway to Green Valley Road and Ohlone Parkway to Walker Street. A different entry point should be to a development also could be from the Harkin Slough Road, adjacent to the Blackbird development. So as you can see, there are several options that ought to be considered other than destroying the only safe place in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Bob Culbertson, and tonight I'm speaking because I'm a homeowner on La Paz Court. I'm not speaking for Watsonville Wetlands Watch, and I'm speaking about the Sunshine Vista proposed subdivision. Arrington Lane has vehicle access into Sunshine Vista, and it's crucial. We would all prefer to have a 50-foot access way with 2-lane traffic and sidewalks, but if it's not possible to add additional land to the existing 30-foot right-of-way, then I would ask you to consider a variance I know that when you presented the subdivision plans, there were variances on lot setbacks, there were variances on distances between houses, and so I know that even though there's a recommended number, we're not locked into a recommended number. You can have a variance, and I would suggest Arrington Road would be the best vehicle access point. If you have to give up the sidewalks, it then brings me to my second point, which is that we need to relook at the pedestrian and bicycle access from the new proposed subdivision to Ohlone, Ramsey Park, and the Ford Street. So they need to have more review with input from the Casitas homeowners, and the current trail plan does not connect, as it said in the report, in my letter when I wrote the letter, it does not connect to Seaview Ranch City Trail Systems, which are on the other side of Ohlone and next to Tar Plant Hill. So the current plan dead ends and doesn't have the proper pedestrian and bicycle access. The third point I want to make tonight is I wanted to thank Council Member Felipe Hernandez for the proposal to the City Council to explore a relationship with the Pajaro Valley Unified School District at Landmark Elementary School. You've heard about the lack of parks in the Casitas area. We have no sidewalks. The people that come out of their home go immediately on the street. And if we had a relationship with the Pajaro Valley Unified School District, we may be able to use the Landmark Elementary School as another play area, which would be on our side of Ohlone Parkway and would be another nice park facility. And I would encourage the City Council to utilize whatever relationships they have throughout the city, because open space is hard to come by. And if there are other cities that are working with school districts where the school kids use the schools during the daytime, and after school is out, it's open to the public for picnicking, soccer, baseball, and an ability to use fields. I know it's complicated, but I think Felipe mentioned that last time, and I was very encouraged to hear that. So we do need to have those programs, and the current policy of saying the city will accept fees in lieu of parks and fees in lieu of schools doesn't work. It doesn't work for Las Casitas. We don't have parks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Culbertson.
Hello,
Good
evening, City Council members. Thank you for your time. My name is Holly Heath. I'm the Vice President of the Seaview Ranch Homeowners Association and an original Casitas owner. I'm wanting to address you now because the next time you meet, you'll be voting on our community. My hope is that every City Council person will come and see, please, what they're voting on. Thank you to Jimmy Dutra and Rebecca Garcia, who have come to talk with homeowners at the site that is being targeted as an outlet for the Sunshine Vista development. I'm not against more housing for the city of Watsonville. We know that more housing is needed. I have some familiarity with that issue. Last year, I retired after 25 years of working at Santa Cruz County Children's Mental Health. My job was as a therapist working with youth at the highest level of probation and their families, working to keep them at home and to find healthier lives for them, to try to woo them away from gangs and crime. I've seen what inadequate housing can look like and what it does to the human spirit. I hope there are going to be ample affordable units in the proposed new development. We all deserve dignity and respect. My hope is that the new city residents that are being anticipated, with those in mind, there will also be respect for community members who've devoted themselves to creating healthy community already, like the work we've put into our community at the Seaview Ranch Casitas, working to shut down a drug house in our neighborhood, to not allow our streets to be taken over by the intimidation of gangs, and to instead watch those same young community people become respectful householders and parents, to replace the trees with our own HOA money on Ohlone Parkway when the street was being used as a raceway and the trees were being knocked over, to protect trees that were being used as target practice and knife throwing practice, to work with landscapers on developing beautiful areas that are now award-winning, including the area that's being targeted. Who wouldn't want to build a development next to ours? We've worked so hard to make it beautiful. Please come and see what we're talking about. when we don't want a road to bisect our tiny community. There are solutions that will be safer and more respectful. Thank you for listening. Love has to win.
Thank you.
Hello, members of the council. My name is Jorge Guillen, and I'm the president of Pajaro Valley Pride. And with me are fellow organizers and members of the Pajaro Pride organization. And we are here to invite you folks and the rest of the community to come join us on August 19th at the Downtown Plaza for our third annual Pride celebration. And we'd also like to share that the theme of our event this year is Strength Through Unity, and it just touches on a lot of the themes that have been talked about on today, which is, being a one unit and being a oneness and making sure that we are giving voice to people that don't have a voice. And that's part of our work as an organization, is to try to be as inclusive as possible to all members of the community so that there's a safe space for everybody. And, we're not just LGBTQI people, we're also immigrants, and we're also members of the community that contribute to the economy, that contribute to a functioning society. And so we just want to invite everybody to come celebrate with us. There'll be entertainment for the whole family. So, there'll be jump houses and just things for the whole family to do. And we'd also like to make an invitation to any of the council members that would like to say a few words at our event and share it with the public to please do so. I have a couple of flyers that has our contact information. If any of you do want to speak at our event, to please reach out to our email, and we can make sure that there's an opportunity for you folks to share a few words with the people that attend our event. Thank you.
Thank you, Jorge, and we hope you feel welcome here. Thank you. You can pass those to the deputy clerk. And thank you for coming and speaking. Mr. Arnold, welcome.
Mayor, the city council, I ask your city attorney to check with the having the city manager present policy items before the rest of you. When Mr. Dutra was talking about leadership and love, we noticed it wasn't he that brought forth the resolution. If you thought the resolution was fine, he left it to staff. And this was the thing I wanted to bring up earlier about the California League of Cities, is they give out an award. It's called the Charles Merriam Award. Charles Merriam wrote and praised Adolf Hitler, and he praised Mussolini. So the California League of Cities, for that man that thought that was fine, doesn't have all the data. He also said that he leads a crew of immigrants that make low wages and work hard. I think there's a problem with that. I think the Mexican in the area here, the dad and the mom, need to have their children not have their wages undercut, or the same thing is happening in Silicon Valley with B-1 visas, in which our children are not taught the technical information to capture these jobs. It's a continual undermining of the family structure here because of these this advocacy. In fact, in California right now, there are more Chinese coming into California. They're flying over the Pacific to occupy the hospitals and cause the taxpayers all kinds of problems and expenses. And our children are hurt in school because they're held back because of the multiple languages in the schools. We find there's no problem with Driscoll or the huge foundations like Packard. They don't pay taxes. It's the people out here that pay the taxes. They love that cheap, low wages that keeps the people that represented and voted you to look out for their interest, and you're not. You're looking out for the illegal interest. And again, you're bringing the crime, the human trafficking. You look at Mexico in the last 10 years, there's been 250,000 people killed, murdered. You're bringing these gangs in without vetting, and it's wrong. In fact, the new president of Mexico says he's looking forward to cooperation with Donald Trump, and this is the lowest unemployment for Mexicans and Hispanics in the history of the United States. I beg people to get on the internet and don't believe the lies. There's racial pimps out there trying to create divisions between Mexicans and blacks and whites and everybody else. We're all Americans. Thank you.
We have another speaker, please. The podium can be lowered by that button on the
Any
side.
wireless microphone here? Or?
I think he needs that.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Mary Beth Osborne.
And I'm Jose Sandoval.
And I live on California Street, 107 California Street. I've lived there for 8 years. And I have seen fireworks cause all kinds of havoc and trouble in our neighborhood over the years. But let me tell you, it has hit a crescendo this year. It is insane. People are shooting off fireworks at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And nobody seems to know that they're illegal. I didn't know they were illegal. Mr. Dutra called and told me that yesterday. I had no idea. So, Council, I would beg you to please consider publicizing the fact that it's not legal. Because honestly, I think a lot of the people who are currently breaking the law are doing so without knowing the law. So if you could just make it a little bit more obvious that we don't allow these kind of fireworks, that would help. The other big thing is that the vendors are a problem. I have seen them at night having U-Haul trucks put into their booths these big fireworks, the ones that are illegal. Why do we have vendors in our town selling these things if they're not legal? I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Finally, these things are a danger to children. I've seen a lot of little injuries happening, but we got lucky. Nothing bad has happened to the kids yet. But there have been close calls, especially in Callahan Park, where people shoot off these rockets that go right at a group of little kids. It stops my heart every time. And there are problems with our animals in the neighborhood, most of whom are perfectly nice, sweet animals, but they get terrified by bombs at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, and he has a little baby who is terrified by these things. And I have PTSD, so it's no fun for me either. I'm no fan of fireworks, that's true. But the final straw was a drive-by shooting some weeks ago. I happened to be awake because of some of the problems I've got at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I heard the shot. Now, I grew up in a rural area. I know the difference between a gunshot and a firecracker. I called the police, and absolutely no blame towards the police. The policeman's dispatcher told me they had to confirm or get some verification of my report before they could send somebody. I understand that. They can't be running out every time somebody hears a firecracker. You know, that would be ridiculous. So it's a problem for our emergency responders. I don't think we want to cause a problem for our emergency responders. We want them to know when they're hearing a real gunshot and when it's just a fireworks, right? We want them to know it's real. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming this evening and expressing yourself so eloquently. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council at this time? You can raise the podium up if you like, or you can speak from there.
No. I this is fine, thank you. I just want to be able to say to Watsonville and to the politicians up here, you guys are amazing people. And I do appreciate your guys' leadership. I really do. And I want to be able to say this as a guest coming in here, you know, because I got a lot of family that reside in Watsonville, over 200, right? And I know this for a fact, but I want to be able to say this. You know, I come in here as a guest just to kind of you know, speak on issues since I'm here, right? And I find it kind of intimidating, and I want members of the public to know that the chief of police, Honda, right, has militarized the chamber, right? Because all of a sudden I feel that I'm here. I'm sitting back there with my GoPro, in which members of the public can see that. He has six armed police officers here. I would ask the city manager and the attorney and the mayor, hey, you don't need to be intimidating members of the public when they're coming in here speaking liberating truth to political power. A public admonishment needs to to be administered to Chief Honda, you're just creating an environment of intimidation. You know, this is the same zombie politics that's permeating San Jose and Santa Clara County high politics. I would say is, hey, well, you can do better with the taxpayer dollars besides militarizing the chambers. We're engaging in our civil activism, and we have a right to come in here. I shouldn't have to feel intimidated. I feel intimidated coming in here. You know, and I was brought in here by a guest just to do some video recording. You know, I'm producing. You know, Mayor, you look like a nice guy. I don't have beef with no one. I wish you all well. I wish Santa Cruz County, not Santa Cruz County, but Watsonville well as well. And I'm just a person just trying to enjoy my humanity. I happen to be here and I want to weigh in on the political issue. I have a right to weigh in as a guest and as a member of the public, to bring the public spirited perspective. I'm speaking liberating truth to political power. I don't espouse left and right paradigm because I believe it's a failure. I believe it's a failure. This is only two classes, the privileged versus the persecuted, the well-off versus the worst-off, those that enjoy the prestigious economy and those that wallow in a subsistence economy. And I get it. Most of us do get it. But I would want to be able to say, God bless all you guys as politicians and God bless Watsonville. But please, we don't need to have all these armed police officers here because it's intimidating me and it's triggering my PTSD. And this shows the cognitive incompetency of Chief Honda. And I have a right to my political dissent. I don't appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Can we have the next speaker, please?
Thank you. I'm going to try this for fun. Oh, is it up?
Yeah, just push the top button.
Okay, I'll get this.
Top button.
I'm techie. I can handle it. And all right. Good evening, City Manager Huffaker, Mayor Hurst, City Council. My name is Ari Parker. I am a resident of District 7. And congratulations, Councilman Gonzalez. I just wanted to express my general concern regarding taxes in Watsonville and how they're presented to city residents. As Vice Chair of Measure G, which is our public safety measure that supports fire and police, we've been discussing the necessity of reauthorizing this measure when it sunsets in a few years. A big part of that discussion is about focus, specificity. You know, and herein lies my concern. Before we start raising taxes, we need to be prudent and definitive in exactly what these funds will be used for. So when you're specific and you're clear how you'll use those new taxes, then voters are very receptive, as you've seen over the last couple elections. Voters understood and supported the specific focus of these new taxes. So I just want to be cautionary in the thought that not to backslide into raising taxes for the general fund, but be specific, pick a project, and fund it. Thank you very much, Council.
And thank you.
Steve Trujillo, member of the Personnel Commission. I don't know if all of you saw last Friday's Register Pajaronian, but there was a wonderful article that dealt with fireworks and the resulting trash that unfortunately took over Palm Beach, our lovely little local beach here. And Rachel Wibben, I want to compliment Rachel Wibben. I believe she's the Environmental Projects Coordinator for the Department of Public Works. I commend her for bringing to the attention to the public that these fireworks, when they land on the beach, they somehow, or they very often become, part of the high tide. They discharge tremendous toxics into Monterey Bay. Monterey Bay is a sanctuary. And what it also does, it takes the beach sand and toxifies it as well. And we have a wonderful group of birds. They're known as snowy plovers. Maybe you've seen them. Snowy plovers are also an endangered species, and they too are our neighbors, and we need to protect them because they can't be up here speaking for themselves. So I'm asking the good people of the council to recognize that wonderful group that came out the next day, July 5th, and picked up 100 pounds worth of toxic trash from the fireworks on Palm Beach. They deserve a resolution, and Rachel deserves a commendation for bringing this to our attention. She had the photo in the newspaper. She was the one who made the comment that this is not good for the health of our community. And we need to recognize that, yes, fireworks do a lot of damage to dogs and cats and people with PTSD, the elderly, and the toxic waste that they produces a lot of toxic harm to the snowy plovers and the natural flora and fauna that we love so much and that make Watsonville such a wonderful community to live in. And in the last note, I applaud Police Chief Honda for doing an excellent job. I don't feel intimidated in the least, and I'm not a power holder, and I'm not a wealthy person. I live on an STRS teacher's pension, and I love walking to the city of Watsonville because I feel safe thanks to our wonderful police department and Chief Honda's leadership.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the council on items that aren't yet on our agenda? Seeing none, then we'll go to our next, we're going to have comments from the council now, oral communications from the council. Let's start out with Councilmember Hernandez, please.
First, I did read the article and I wanted to attend the beach cleanup, but would it be practical if, Mayor, you can send a request to the county if they can do ranger patrols at our South County beaches during the, I know they do them over there, but if we can do them here in South County as well, so they can prevent some of the illegal fireworks out there in, Sunset and Palm Beach?
Yes, sir. I'm glad to write that letter with your assistance.
Thank you. And first of all, I'd like to welcome our new council member, Aurelio Gonzalez. And also, I'd like to welcome our new city manager, Matt Huffaker, on his new role as well, sitting on the dais officially as a city manager. I'd also like to thank former city manager Charles Montoya for a job well done, and we're going to miss him. That said, I attended a few events. I think first and foremost, the 4th of July parade is always one of my favorite events here because it really shows and illustrates our diversity in our community, and we come together as a community from the horses, the ranchero horses, to the lowriders, to the hot rods, the motorcycles. Everybody comes together as a community, and that's what we want Watsonville to be. The Fire in the Sky, for barely being its second event, it's a huge success. And I think that a role that the Fire in the Sky plays is that when we have that fireworks display, it prevents people, or it helps. Less people will buy illegal fireworks at their home to do a firework display because we're putting one on for them. And I think in the future, people are going to hopefully not buy illegal fireworks because we got this great, Fire in the Sky firework presentation that we have for the community that's free. I also attended a community event held by the Sierra Club here in Watsonville. It was a rail and trail presentation that discussed the possibility of light rail transit in Watsonville, and it was well attended by folks here. There's a few community events that I want to make sure people know about and attend. This Thursday, the day after tomorrow, we got the Music in the Park series with Chicano All-Stars. So put on your dancing shoes on Thursday, 6 p.m. at the Plaza. There's a couple events going on the weekend on both Saturday and Sunday. On June 14th, there's a Relay for Life on both days from 9 a.m. till 9 a.m. the next day, and any time in between there, overnight. There's also the Xilonen Aztec dance ceremony that's going on both days. And on Friday, July 20th, we're having a meet and greet of South County leadership at 5:30 here. And of course, we're having our own Matt Huffaker, Dr. Matthew Wistine, the new Cabrillo president, Dr. Ferris Sabah, the Santa Cruz County Board of Education Superintendent, and of course, our new council member, Aurelio Gonzalez. In August 4th is the Strawberry Festival, August 4th and 5th. That's Saturday and Sunday. So put that on your calendar. And last but not least, on August 18th, we're hosting a Watsonville Community Dog Walk. And it's to commemorate National Hawaiian Shirt Day. We're having a Hawaiian Shirt Day Dog Walk. So that's August 18th. It's going to be at 10:30 on Saturday here at the Romo Park, right here, right downstairs by the big blue mural. So we welcome everybody. Bring your dogs, bring your Hawaiian shirts. If you got a Hawaiian shirt for your dog, bring that as well. And that concludes my remarks.
Tell us what day that dog walk was?
Saturday, August 18th,
Thank
10:30
you.
a.m.
Let's go right down the line if it's okay with the new council member.
All right, thank you. Well, congratulations, Matt, first of all. Also, I think he covered everything on the calendar, so I won't go through the calendar. But I do want to say something. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to say that it is truly an honor being here today in these chambers of the City Council. This was possible because of those friends and neighbors who helped me achieve a dream that I thought would not be possible. But with the encouragement of my family and friends, I knew we could do this. I also like to thank John F. Kennedy for the words that I've kept throughout my life, and the words that ask not what you could do for your country, but not what your country could do for you, but what you could do for your country. I also would like to acknowledge those individuals that made this district election possible, allowing representation by those which live within their district to be elected by their neighbors. So I say thank you for standing up against a system that was stacked against you. You have brought diversity to our city council, which is what the city of Watsonville is, a diverse community. I discovered as I was walking District 2 how diverse it really is, from different cultures to different age groups. It all comes with different concerns, needs, from controlling loud noise within neighborhoods, infrastructure needs, traffic concerns, job growth opportunities, revitalization of the downtown. As a councilman, these are the items that I plan to be working on, and during the remaining 2 years, I will work with my fellow council members to better the city of Wattsville and meet the needs of the residents. Once again, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to serve you as your city council representative for District 2. As an immigrant, coming from a family from immigrants to this country, my family went through a lot. They worked hard. I have a sister that's a teacher. I have brothers, they retired as a union pipe fitters. I myself am a retired from the building trades. I've worked hard in labor construction. I know what it is to work hard, and so that's what I'm going to bring to this council. I'm going to work hard and diligently on the issues that matter for the community and improve the conditions overall for everybody, because I think everybody should be respected with dignity, no matter what shape, color, size you are. We are all human beings. So I welcome everybody in the city of Watsonville to come here and participate and get involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Garcia?
Yes, I spent 3 days at the mayor's and council members' executive forum in Monterey, and there was a variety of sessions addressing many of the issues that is experienced by our cities in California. But the one that was most interesting to me was called Addressing the Challenges of Housing Affordability. The city of San Diego completed a study where they have been now able to remove barriers to housing construction and now have increased their affordable or market rate housing supply. They identified 11 strategies which can be downloaded and used by any city, or a city can do its own study, which can be paid by SB2. I've already asked Susie and Matt to look at the possibility of that study, San Diego study, and see if that study, or if we need to do our own study to help us with our housing needs. I accepted Congressman Jimmy Panetta's invitation to attend the naturalization ceremony at Hartnell College in Salinas. 77 new citizens from 20 countries took the oath of allegiance. They sang the Star-Spangled Banner and listened to Congressman Panetta's keynote speech. The new citizens were reminded that voting is the foundation of our democracy and were encouraged to register to vote that day. You could see the excitement and pride by these new citizens and their families and their friends. Finally, this year, my 9-year-old granddaughter and 7-year-old granddaughter rode on the fire truck with me for the 4th of July parade. They had so much fun waving their flags. They're hoping that I get reelected so they can ride with me next year. But I pointed out to them that being reelected takes a lot of work, and my 7-year-old granddaughter said she would help me get reelected by having all her friends vote for me. So at 7 years old, she already understands the importance of voting. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. It was great to be with you on the fire truck and the grandchildren.
Thank you. I'm going to start off with Monterey Bay Community Power. The power has been switched on to our community choice aggregate as of July 1st. Don't feel a difference, you turn the light switch on and it's going. But what they're doing this weekend, and it's going to be at the San Lorenzo Park on Saturday from 1 to 4, is a little bit more of the community engagement about what this means to the community and other resources that they can in terms of reducing your carbon footprint and what the agency is going to be about for our community here. Stores Winery is also opening up, and that's an event that will be held on the Saturday as well. And this is a ticket entry, and the proceeds are going to go to help with a Pajaro Valley Trust, the health trust agency. So just wanted to let you know about that. And I'd like to say congratulations to Casey. I have had a vacancy as a personnel commissioner since Mariana Gomez had passed away several years ago. So I'm glad now that I have a full slate of commissioners to represent me for the community needs for those commissions. I also last year asked if we can have Honda put this on the agenda perhaps. I was looking for an app for people to be able to have that can isolate a little bit more of where they're hearing the explosions and the fireworks. This was last year. I wasn't able to find anything myself, but I think it might help identify where there's repeat offenders when it comes to the illegal fireworks that are out there. And maybe with that, there would be a little bit easier way of identifying some of those target spots that maybe we can have a little bit more patrolling going on. Felonies were out there. I don't know how many were issued, but the citations were a felony this year. And I'm hoping that that fiscal impact for the people who are lighting off the illegals will deter them with the financial consequences so we don't see them come back next year with the illegals. And I'd also like to congratulate Matt. I know he's going to do well for us. He's got a lot going on in terms of the footsteps of things that were started with Charles. And I know that he's going to be an asset with this community here. And so we look forward to working with him and continuing on with quite a few of the challenges that we have here. In addition to saying thank you very much, Charles, for the service that you provided this community. Many things that were resolved that we've had on the books for quite some time. And setting some things for Matt in the future here for how we can conduct our business. And I just want to leave with the final note, and that is just to give my condolences to the Dickey family. Brian Dickey was a CFO for Community Action Board for well over a decade, and he stayed with the Community Action Board until last week or so. And he just passed away yesterday morning. And so he's a big contributor of what he did in terms of helping our Community Action Board and their finances for quite some time. And so he will be really well missed with the agency there. So my condolences to his family. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bilicic.
Well, first I'd like to extend my congratulations to you, Councilmember Gonzalez. I think it's going to be great that you're here to represent your area and be part of our team. And then I too want to thank Charles Montoya for his leadership. I appreciate what he's done for our community in the short time he was here, and I look forward to working with Matt, leading us in a new direction or continuation of where we're going. I think it's going to be great. And then I wanted to let people know in District 7 that the Bridge Street median, I met with staff, I don't know now, a week or 2 weeks ago, and there is going to be some movement and things happening on the Bridge Street median, and no, we are not taking out the trees. I've heard that I don't know how many times. The trees are leaving, they're going to be gone. No, they're not. In fact, the latest one I heard was we were turning it into a 4-lane highway out there. I said, what? Bridge Street's going to be 4 lanes. No, it's not. And I think that we're going to have a meeting with staff in September. Don't have a firm date yet, but I think it's going to be great because we're going to move forward. We had a meeting maybe 2 years ago and nothing really happened. But I think things will happen now, and I'm looking forward to working with Nick, Tamara, and whoever else is involved, and we're going to make things happen and beautify that area. So thank you, staff. And then I met with people about, well, you heard all of these people speaking, their concerns about our new housing development. And yes, we need housing, but we have some concerns that I think we need to listen to and see what we can do to make everybody happy. Will that happen? In time. We always make it work. I also attended the Rail and Trail meeting and the Powell Valley Historical Association picnic. Gosh, there's picnics all over the place. We had the Sacco picnic last Sunday, and the Sons and Daughters of Italy is this Sunday. So lots of people, lots of eating, lots of good things happening in the summer. 4th of July parade is always very nice, and I had the privilege of riding with Uncle Sam, who is also known as Johnny Walker. And let's see. Oh, the other thing I wanted to talk to people about was the post office. I hear this all the time. I didn't get my mail. My mail's coming at 8 o'clock. Why are they skipping me? What's going on with the post office? So I went down and had a little visit with the post office and found out that for the last 6 months, we've had a temporary postmaster. I didn't get to talk with him. I had to talk with another person, a supervisor. I have to say the employees in the lobby are very hardworking. I really appreciate what they're doing. And the carriers are out there, and they're trying to do their best, but it seems like we don't have enough carriers. And so what happens is they finish their route, and then they have to go back and get another route. And so the mail is late. I was assured that mail is not supposed to be delivered after 7 p.m., but then on the other hand, if you have no mail that night, that's not good either. So I think this is a bigger issue. We need a permanent postmaster, and I'm going to try and work with some other people to see if we can remedy this situation. Thank you. That concludes my remarks.
And thank you. Councilmember Dutra.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody at home who's watching us. Thank you, as usual, for always tuning in. Tonight, it's 8. It was so long that I thought we already did this part. So we thought, oh, it's going to be a fast meeting, and every time we say that, it's never fast. But I want to say thank you, welcome Aurelio to the council. We create our own fireworks sometimes up here, but we're always working hard on behalf of our constituents and the community. So welcome and good luck. And summer break's about to hit, so this is our last meeting for the last couple until the end of August. So we're looking forward to that as well. Everybody, I hope you enjoy your summer. We'll be off for about the next 6 weeks or so, or maybe even longer, and we'll be back in August or at the very end of August to deal with city issues. I wanted to say congratulations to Matt. Welcome. I feel like this transition has been so easy so far, and things are going to be very smooth. And he's already been a hard worker in our community. A lot of the projects that are underway currently have been under your leadership. So I want to say, I can't wait to have some of these finish, and good luck to bringing a lot of new change to our community. I'm all about change. I don't want to be stagnant. I live here. I want to spend our money locally, and we need to build this economy, and housing is also a really important issue. So I want to say thank you for the people coming here to speak about Sunshine Vista as well. We're going to continue to work hard on that project, and we'll get back to you, and hopefully we'll be making changes that will make everybody happy. I wanted to also talk about, I was in the 4th of July parade. I went through twice. No, it was not my twin. It was me actually going through twice. And when I got home afterwards, I was having a little barbecue thanking the people who walked in the contingency for my supervisor campaign. And I did a barbecue, and I was so tired, I fell asleep on the couch. I'm like, why am I so tired? Well, in that kind of weather, I should know this living here in Wattsville my entire life, that when it's cloudy, the sun affects you even worse. So I woke up, I was super sunburnt. So that's my fault for not wearing any suntan lotion. But it was a great time. We had over 2,100 participants inside of the parade. So that was huge, a huge, huge parade, and a lot of people watching it. So thank you for coming. The fireworks in the sky was another amazing event. The city of Watsonville, you guys we outdo ourselves. And thank you, staff, for really taking care of us and making sure that has become a really successful event. And I look forward to it growing over the years. I want to say thank you to Chief Honda. I know you got a little criticism earlier. People always like to criticize people without, knowing that for everything. And I want to say I think you're doing a great job, and you and all the men and women that protect our community. I appreciate you, and I felt safe that you guys were here, and I don't think anybody felt intimidated except for maybe the couple gentlemen that were there. And then also, I just wanted to say, just kind of one more thing. The PV Pride, they came to speak today, and their Pride is on August 19th. We won't be having another meeting before then, so I just want to reiterate this. This is the 3rd annual here in Watsonville. A lot of people show up to it. We're a very diverse community, and I welcome you all down to downtown Main Street on August 19th to celebrate Pride here in Watsonville. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much, Vice Mayor Dutra. You've got a hard-working council here, and you got a very hard-working staff, and so I hope the public appreciates the hard work that actually takes place. It was a fabulous 4th of July, as everyone's acknowledged. There is a problem with illegal fireworks, and I think that we need to step that up some, but nobody knows quite how to prevent the illegal buying and selling and detonation of those giant bombs that you hear. We'll continue to work on that. I was at the Saco picnic. That's the Slavic American Cultural Organization. A warm welcome there. We're going to have another cultural group here in a minute talk to us, but I also want to mention that the Kawakami Sister City Student Exchange will take place in mid-August, the 21st through, I think, the 28th, and those middle school students will be coming here to get a taste of American culture, and we'll get a little taste of Japanese culture as well. Congratulations to Aurelio. You can see that this is a big job, but you're going to have a lot of help, we hope. And that we want to say thank you very much to Mr. Montoya, Charles Montoya. He did a lot in a very short period of time, and he had an unusual management style that really resonated with many people in the community and did a great job. So thank you, Charles, and congratulations, Matt, and we look forward to moving forward. And moving forward is what I want to do because we're almost out of time here. There will be on the ballot in November, you're going to see Proposition 1 and 2. They're going to be about housing and veterans and working families and people with disabilities and trying to find a way to support folks experiencing homelessness. So November will be here before we know it. Tomorrow I'm going to be receiving a delegation of healthcare professionals. They're coming from Ireland and Grenada, and they're partners with Cabrillo College. We hear about healthcare all the time, and the senior citizens know that healthcare is a great big issue. They're going to be placing some interns, international interns, in fact, at Watsonville Hospital, and there'll be nursing students at Cabrillo. So we look forward to that as well. Other than that, let's move forward with our agenda here, unless Mr. Huffaker or the attorney has something to say. Do we have a report out of closed session that we skipped over?
Yes, we do, Mayor. We have not skipped it over. This is the perfect time for it. The council received reports and 2 items in closed session this evening, but took no final action. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Huffaker.
For the good of the order, no additional comments this evening. Thank you.
That's the best news we've heard. We're going to do a real quick proclamation here, and then we'll get on with the rest of our agenda, please. This is going to be the Mayor's Proclamation declaring August 2018 as Breastfeeding Awareness Month and recognizing the WIC Breastfeeding Walk as an important community event in the city of Watsonville. Can I have the recipients come up, please? We do this annually, and I feel like this ought to be more of a job for mothers than I, but my mother told me that breastfeeding was important, and I believed her, too. So congratulations to you. Let me get the proclamation. I'm skipping over I don't have an assistant tonight. What happened? I think we've talked so much that we've worn ourselves out. We're going to get to our friends just in a moment here. Breastfeeding Awareness Month. We have a lot of whereases here, but I think the important one is that breast milk is superior to any artificial milk substitute, providing optimal brain development and providing children with one of the best foundations for early learning readiness. And that with the cooperation of Watsonville Community Hospital, Salud para la Gente, and the Community Bridges Program, WIC programs maintain certified lactation consultants on staff to support new mothers. And so with that in mind, I will turn it over to you folks, and you can really tell us what's happening.
Thank you so much, Mayor Hurst. Thank you very much, City Council. And thank you very much to the City of Watsonville for this proclamation. This is the 3rd year for our proclamation. It was a joy to work with the city each year to get this done. I just wanted to share with the council and with the public that this year, Santa Cruz County was ranked #1 in the state for exclusive breastfeeding in the hospital. And that had a lot to do, thank you. That had a lot to do, especially with the work done in Watsonville, with Watsonville Community Hospital, Community Bridges WIC program, and Salud para la Gente. So we're really thrilled to acknowledge that. And my job here also is to invite you all. One thing that was missing from the calendar was on August 10th, Friday, August 10th, is our 12th annual Breastfeeding Health Fair and Breastfeeding Walk, Community Bridges sponsored. We had the pleasure of having Councilmember Garcia and Councilmember Hernandez in the past, so we hope they'll join us again this year, invite the other council members, and of course the mayor and members of the public. So thank you so much for this. We appreciate your support. There are pictures of us up there. Thank you to the county for doing that, and for the city for doing that, and we hope that you'll join us. Thank you very much.
I'm Dr. Linda Shaw. I'm one of the pediatricians at Salud para la Gente. So I'm here representing Salud, and Salud has worked not only in all aspects of taking care of the health of the community, but we have been working really hard at developing a breastfeeding program along with WIC, and we coordinate with WIC with that. And we do have a full complement of lactation consultants, so all of our patients also have access to help if they have problems with breastfeeding, in addition to, our pediatric and general medical services. And so we just wanted to say that we're here and that we are continuing our mission to try and improve the health of the community, because a breastfed baby is a healthier baby.
Yeah, I just want to thank the City Council for this proclamation. My name is Sylvia Perez. I'm a nurse at Watsonville Hospital in intensive care nursery, and I get to watch it every day when it starts. It's really special, and I also want to tell the community that Watsonville Hospital recently got designated as a baby-friendly hospital. That means, in a nutshell, that we do everything possible to promote and protect and breastfeeding moms and their babies. So thank you.
I'm Robbie Gonzalez Dow with Community Bridges and with the California Breastfeeding Coalition. And I did want to say that breastfeeding really is everyone's business. I want to read a quote by Melinda Gates, and she recently said this at the South by Southwest conference. "The American workforce has evolved dramatically over the course of my lifetime, but the American workplace has barely changed at all. It's time we insist on making work better for everyone. And I say this because I work to support women who go back to work, and we need to have accommodations for women who need to pump while they're at work to provide that milk for their babies throughout the day. And so we're here to help employers to do that. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And thank you very much as well. Your proclamation, and please come back next year and let's celebrate all year long, because I can't think of anything more important than childhood nutrition and good developmental practices. So thank you for being here. We're sorry to make you wait so long, but it was worth it, I hope. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next on our agenda is item number E. This is a report on the Beacon Awards provided by AMBAG. Do we have a report, please? Public Works, staff report, Beacon Award.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Bertrand. I'm with AMBAG, the AMBAG Energy Watch program. I was here last year to be able to congratulate you on the fact that you were going to be recognized with 2 awards at the Institute for Local Government at the California League of Cities meetings. And this year we were able to work with your staff, and you'll be receiving an award for sustainability best practices at the Institute, at the League of Cities meeting. You're going to be receiving a silver level spotlight award for sustainability best practices. Now, in order to do that, the jurisdiction has to achieve successes in 10 different measured areas, and the city has done that, and so you will be awarded this particular award. It's going to happen at the reception, at the Beacon Awards reception on Thursday, September 13th at the Hyatt Regency in the Beacon Ballroom in Long Beach as part of the League of Cities meetings. And last year it was wonderful. Everyone from Watsonville was there and stormed the stage. I encourage you all to do that again this year, and congratulations to the city of Watsonville.
And we say thank you very much. It was a prestigious award last year, and we think it's going to be a prestigious award again this year. And so thank you for your trust and faith and helping get us in the right direction.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up on our agenda, you will see that we're at item number 8, public hearings, ordinances, and appeals. This is a consideration of placement of an ordinance amending Title III, Chapter 6, Article 3, entitled Uniform Transient Occupancy Tax Law of Watsonville Municipal Code, increasing the tax rate from 11 to 12% on the November 6th ballot for the approval of adoption by the voters. So we'll have a staff report, an opportunity for council questions, a public hearing, city manager's comments, and the city council discussion as we move forward with this adjustment to the transient occupancy. This is the hotel tax for those who might not know what we're talking about. We have a staff report, please.
Good evening, council members. Cindy Serwin, Administrative Services Director. So just to give a little background on this item, you last amended the transient occupancy tax or hotel tax ordinance in November of 2016, or went before the voters in November of 2016, and the changes you made, a lot of comprehensive changes, including increasing the rate from what was then 10% to now 11%. That change became effective on January 1st of 2017. Matt has been in communication with other districts in our county, and we know that there are other communities in Santa Cruz that are also considering raising their tax at this time. One we know for sure that is on the ballot right now is Scotts Valley is going from 10 to 11%. So in conjunction with some of the other discussions that are happening in other communities, we are proposing to increase the tax rate from 11% to 12%. If this were to go in front of the voters in November, it would become effective on January 1st of 2019. It's effectively a 9.1% increase from where we are, because we're at 11 and going to 12%, or going to 11%, 12%. The uses of this money, hotel tax is an unrestricted general fund revenue. So this is money that would go into our overall general fund bucket that we would be using and would come back in front of this body in the form of the annual budget each year. And it would just be in that big pot of general fund money that funds all of our services. The people that come to our community and stay in our hotels, they benefit from a lot of our city services in the form of uses of our parks, our streets, being provided with safety and guaranteed safety while they're here visiting our community. And recently, the city, particularly Matt and our city attorney and our police department, have really been working to increase their efforts to ensure high operational standards for our hotels. So this has been in code enforcement, in conjunction with all of those departments, including my own. We completed a financial audit of the hotel tax just last year to again check on the vendors or the current hotels that we have and ensure they were paying at the fair rate and things. So increasing this tax would also further help fund some of those efforts to ensure that the hotel permittees that we have in the city are following our rules and are operating at the highest of standards. Just a little bit of history of where our hotel tax has been. You can see that it has actually been growing since the recession, since 2009. We have grown at a pretty steady rate over the last few years. 2018 would be the first year that last rate, the first full fiscal year, that 1% increase from the last change was effective. And we haven't seen a decline in occupancy or in earnings based on that change. So we have no reason to believe that an increase in this rate at this time would impact people coming to stay in our community. Again, just the fiscal impact of this, it's unrestricted general fund revenues. It is an effective 9.1% increase in the rate. And I estimate that it would bring in about $45,000 in fiscal year 19. That is because of the effective date of January 1st, and then there's a 1-quarter lag in when we actually receive the revenues from those hotels. So the first full fiscal year that we would feel the impact is 2019-20, and we estimate that it would bring in about $130,000 each year. So our recommendation, staff's recommendation to you is to place this on the ballot for next year, or for November. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Let's see if there's any questions from the council. Let's go Mr. Dutra first.
Thank you. How many hotels do we currently have that pay into this bucket of money?
Gosh, 8, yeah.
8?
Yeah.
Councilmember Dutra, for the record and for the public's benefit, we have 8 hotels currently paying in to that TOT tax. We have a couple others in the pipeline, as the council is aware. The Hampton Inn on Lee Road has pulled their building permit, so we would expect that to be moving forward towards completion in the next 24 months. But for now, we have 8.
And does that include, I mean, I know we have a couple troubled hotels like that we've had, that, you know, that the one by that off of Auto Center Row. I mean, are those really hotels, or I don't even know what are they long-term stays? I don't even know what those are considered sometimes. But.
Those are included. The way our TOT is structured, it taxes a transient occupant in those hotels. So those are short-term stays, not the long-term. Some of the historical hotels we had that were converted as single-room occupancy, it does not apply to those locations. But the Valley Inn, for example, behind the Fish House on Main Street, is included.
So that the Valley Inn, if someone's staying there for a long period of time, I don't even know if that's considered a hotel anymore, or or do people stay there long term? But
it's still considered a hotel, and the TOT tax applies to
someone stays in a room. Okay, great. And then so we're looking at about $130,000 a year going into just our general fund, which will pay for services throughout whatever the city uses. Okay, great. Thank you.
Next question, please. Councilmember Garcia.
I think this question goes to the police department. If somebody from the police might want to come up.
Well, they might not want to come up, but they're headed here.
In the staff report, it says funding will be used to increase high operational standards for our existing hotels. Well, the city of Watsonville passed a resolution to address human trafficking. How will this new funding help with this issue?
Well, that's an excellent question. Tom Sims, Assistant Chief of Police, Mayor, Council. As with all the funds that are going towards police services, there will be some required training. In fact, with regards to human trafficking, we have just contracted with an instructor to come in and give us mandatory 2-hour human trafficking training for this next fiscal year. So that will all be applied to any of these hotels, and we'll work closely with them to ensure that that type of behavior is not happening.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hernandez. You did have a question, right?
I did. So with the one or two pending hotels, what would be the projected revenue from those two on top of the 130? Just out of curiosity.
We did a little bit of analysis on that, and we projected that as those 2 additional hotels come on, as we look at this 1% increase of the 130, that additional amount would probably be closer to 150 to 175. Again, it's incremental because we're only talking about 2 additional hotels on top of the 8 that we have in place now. And so it won't be a large additional amount.
And I think, looking at some of the hotels for, some of the trafficking issues, some of the drug dealing issues, I think putting money into that is something that we do really need. I know there's other hotels that I've gotten calls about. The other one on Auto Center Drive, and the one over there by the theater, Motel 6. I mean, you could just drive by there and you'll see some of those issues going on.
Thank you. Is there any other questions from the council at this time? If not, we'll open the public hearing. Public hearing is now open for anyone wishing to comment on this item on our agenda, raising the transient occupancy tax or preparing to present this to the voters on November 11. Currently 11%, theoretically going to 12. See what the voters say. Let's see what the public has to say.
Steve Trujillo, Personnel Commission. The idea of raising the hotel tax is fine. 1% is doable. But we need to give people reasons to come here. We know what a great place this is, but we need to do, I think, a better selling job. The Strawberry Festival is wonderful, but we need a Pajaro Valley Produce Festival for at least 3 or 4 days to rival the one in Gilroy for garlic, which is a single product item. We raise absolutely fantastic products here. And the amazing thing is, not only are they fantastic, they're all healthy and they taste good. So we need to have more events to get people to come here and not do trafficking of minors, as Rebecca pointed out. We definitely don't want that, but we definitely want families and couples and singles to come here and enjoy the bounty that is Watsonville and this county. And in addition to that, we also need, if we're going to have more people paying into the bed tax, we also need to have an artisans workshop, which we don't have. We do have October Open Artist Studios, but we need to have one that's just for Watsonville sometime during the year and invite artists and artisans from all over the country to come and share what they make and what they do. We have one of the finest artists of glass anywhere in the world, and that's, Annie, who makes her wonderful glass right here. We need such a festival here as well. We need to have more ideas to get people to come here, yes, and spend money. I hate to be so crass, but folks, that pays the bills. That pays for all the things we want to do here in Watsonville. And those items that I mentioned are not really crass. They are wonderful reasons for people to come from God-forsaken someplace in the middle of the country that doesn't have neither an artist colony nor raise wonderful agriculture to come and visit and, yes, enjoy the wonders of Watsonville, and they are many. So the 1% tax, bed tax increase, I think is doable, and I hope you'll pass it. But I want all of you to think about the idea of organizing more events, as what I mentioned, to get people to come here to this beautiful community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to address the council on this item before us?
Good evening, Mayor, City Manager Huffaker, members of the City Council and staff. My name is Victor Marani with the Power Valley Community Alliance. We've actually conducted a study of this county-wide, this issue, and then tried to overlay how it would impact Power Valley folks. And by the way, when I was doing the research, I went online, and it looked like there may have been a typo in the resolution in terms of the percentages. You might want to relook at that, and maybe it's been fixed already, I don't know. As far as Scotts Valley is concerned, they've been at 10%. They've been pretty much there for a long time. It's only till recently they've had a big hotel building boom. You may remember the old Bethany College or Bethany University got changed over to this thing called 1440, and they've got a lot of new hotels being built on Scotts Valley Drive that are much further ahead than what we're doing on the edge of town with Hampton Inn. So they're looking at basically just coming up to where we're at 11% from 10 to 11. The county's always been pushing the envelope a little bit. They want to go to 12. And basically, as far as Capitola is probably the most interesting one, and it has a little bit of what Felipe and Rebecca were talking about. They are at 10. They want to go to 12, but that increment between 11 and 12, they're specifying. And they're saying, we have a lot of great stuff happening in Capitola. We're going to take a percentage and hand it back to their Business Improvement Association, a part to the chamber, a part to their youth program that they have there with all the young, junior guards and all that stuff. And these are things they normally do out of their budget anyway, so it's sort of a net neutral kind of deal. But what it's telling the citizens of Capitola, hey, we're just not raising taxes. We're doing something very specific. We're being leaders. We're addressing a need, or in this case, 3 needs. And by plowing money back into the promotion, they're actually getting more people to come to the city, and therefore they're raising the rates. So they're creating more of a community feel, more of like, hey, this is what we're getting when we vote for this. Now, it does change from a simple majority to a 2/3, but usually when people do that, there's no opposition. I look back to what happened in Capitola in 2014. They just tried to do what you're doing here. Let's just raise this up. There was opposition from the community. They lost 54% to 46%. The only city in the state of California, by the way, where a TOT increase was turned down because it had opposition. Now, Watsonville's been very smart ever since Measure G. You've been very specific. You even put a trailer amendment a couple of years ago about the cannabis tax. People like to know what they're getting. Right on. So I would say if you're going to do this, why not take some of that money and put it towards the human trafficking police person? Let people know that's important to what this council wants to do. So that would be my recommendation to you and from the PVCA. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for testifying before us this evening. Anyone else wish to address the council on this item? Seeing no one else approaching the microphone, we'll close the public hearing. We'll return it to the city manager for comments and then the council discussion.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So I appreciate the comments here this evening, and I wanted to respond directly to Mr. Vic Marani and appreciate those comments about what's going on in the rest of the county. I did want to share that we have been in conversations with the other jurisdictions about their plans, and as Vic pointed out, Capitola is considering an increase to 12%. The county has been considering that as well. I understand that City of Santa Cruz may, now that there's been a hold placed on the sugary beverage tax that they had been pursuing, and Scotts Valley as well is bringing forward an increase up to 11%. I just want to stress that there are very few unrestricted revenue options available to cities, and largely due to restrictions that the state has placed on local government over the last 10 years. And as the council knows, we are facing a structural deficit as we look at our 5-year forecast. Already in year 2020, we're showing that we're in the red. due to rising staffing costs and pension costs. And at the same time, we've been spending more and more time internally between the police department, code enforcement, community development, and city manager's office of supporting some of the hotel operators we have in town and trying to raise the operating standard that we have. And that Yelp rating that you look at or others look at when they're thinking about coming into Watsonville and staying at these hotels. And so it's the city's intent with the small additional amount, because we generate between 1.3 million to 1.5 million per year total across all of our hotels. So this is representing 130,000 increase to that. Of using that to continue those efforts, we're also working towards bringing to the council an ordinance that sets forth minimum operating standards for hotels. It's something a lot of cities have done to ensure that they're operating responsibly and adding value to the community, and that's our intent. As the council knows, with both Measure G and Measure M, which was the cannabis tax, we've placed several restrictions on those funds, and for good reasons at those times for the sales tax and the cannabis tax. But those also limit staff's ability to try to solve overall for some of our general fund core services. And there's times, as Mr. Marani had pointed out, where it's appropriate to do so. TOT tax is a tax that's placed on visitors that come into Watsonville that are staying in these hotels. And it's our intent to use those funds to help support the many great services that fall within our general fund, between Parks and Community Services, Police and Fire are both in the general fund, as well as stepping up some of our code enforcement efforts. But placing too many restrictions on those funds can also tie our hands and make it more difficult to deal with some of the economic uncertainties we might have down the road, as well as some of the financial challenges as we come in and out of economic good and hard times. Because as we hit another recession down the road, if all of these additional revenues that are coming in are restricted for very specific purposes, it makes it difficult for us to make decisions around how can we continue managing our operations in the black. So those are just my additional comments, and happy to answer any additional questions the council or the public may have.
Let's see what the council has to say. Councilmember Dutra.
What was the last passage, the percentage of the last vote in 2016? B, do you know? No, what was was it 74, 26? What was it?
I can check in a few seconds.
I mean, that's important to know because it'll really give a good indication of where the community is with that. So could you, if you don't mind? And while she's looking, other people can ask questions.
Sure. Let's see who else has got a question on this while we're researching the critical answer to the last one. Councilmember Kaufman Gomez.
I recognize also that our hotels are pretty well to capacity. I know that there's going to be a Strawberry Jam. It happens every year. And we have people that are coming here for this particular girls softball tournament that have to go all the way to Morgan Hill. And I just want to make sure that we can do things that get the rule set very clear and concise, because we know we've had issues with some of these hotels. And I'd like to see some of the focus being placed on that. However, to have something put on here that is specific to an expenditure, I think would take a little bit more time, because if we don't say yes to this today, we won't be able to have it on the ballot in time. And the last thing I'd want to do is to say that we're going to go out that way without really making sure the homework is done on specifying something that would require the 2/3. So unless that has been done or looked into before it came to council, it may be too late, would be my opinion on this. But we really need to make sure that we're working on this. And I think that we can do that effectively with recommending some of the programs, or recommending that the staff look into different things that we may to be putting our money towards, and not making a full commitment that we're now budgeted for something when our budget's going to be tight, because we do know that CalPERS hit is there, and we just need to be ready to face it.
Thank you. Other items of council discussion on this? Anyone else? Seeing none. Well, I think selling it to the voters is the critical part, and the comments that were made are germane, and they should be focused on. But when the voters see that this will increase the general fund by $45,000 in just the 18-19 year, and possibly $130,000 by 2000, or by 1920, at no expense to their tax bill, no expense out of their pocket. I think that ought to be, if that's understood by the voters, that ought to be you ought to be able to get 50% of the voters to agree with that, perhaps. Councilmember Hernandez.
The previous time it passed by 75.25%, so over 75%. For the last TOT from 10 to 11. Numerically, that is 9,628 to 3,169. So it passed overwhelmingly.
Well, it's hard to ever second guess the voters. We never know exactly what they're going to do, but when it comes to money and their pocket, they usually speak pretty clearly. Councilmember Kaufman Gomez.
So let's say hypothetically we decide that we want to do something that's specific up here. How would we even think about rewriting this to know what to put where on going out for 2/3? How would we even look at that right now or have this change?
Councilmember Kaufman Gomez, as you pointed out, we don't have the luxury of time in this case because this is the council's last opportunity to make this action and allow us to make it on the November ballot. What I would encourage the council to do, if it had interest in wanting to give staff direction, if this measure were to pass, as it already falls within the council's authority of how the budget gets appropriated and how the city organization is spending the revenues that come through, it's always your prerogative when we move forward and we're bringing the next budget to you of having these funds more specifically directed towards certain programs or services.
So it doesn't overrule the fact that we can go back and make sure that we're emphasizing where the money needs to be spent.
At the end of the day, the council has authority over the budget.
Councilmember Hernandez, then Dutra.
So I know Measure M had sort of recommendations for what to do with the money, the funding, but it wasn't a 2/3 vote. Was there any way that we can make a recommendation for this TOT without having to go 2/3 vote?
The cannabis tax, Measure M, was structured in such a way that it came as a general tax increase, which is why it did not trigger the 2/3. And it came with an advisory measure, or often referred to as a rider, that had more specific parameters around percentages. And the council will remember that was towards Parks and Recreation, police services, library services, nonprofit, community partners, and so on. So that would be an option. The challenge would be coming up with exactly what that would be this evening and having that drafted for the council's action tonight, which I think would be difficult to do. But in theory, that could happen if that was the council's wish.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that just for that would be too restrictive because that funding could be used for, things that, because we pay into the Santa Cruz County Tourism Board, but at some point we do have to kind of toot our own horn and make our own tourism locally here because we only get a limited amount of tourism sort of hoopla from the county's tourism board. So I think that, we have to figure out how to actually, what would be the best way to use that money, or because we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot by being too restrictive and not being able to use it for certain things, right? I personally think that we can even kind of use it as a sort of RDA type of funding where the redevelopment zone used to help out hotels, like do facade improvements and things like that that can help, because if they build their hotels better, they'll get better Yelp reviews, they'll get more people coming into those hotels, and the more sales tax revenue and TOT that we'll get, right? It's a win-win situation for both of us. So I don't know. It's a tough call,
Good points. Councilmember Dutra.
Well, I'm going to make a motion to go with the staff's recommendation. I say let the people vote. The people will be the ones to decide this at the end of the day. And, Trina Kaufman Gomez made a good point. We're facing something here in 2020 that we're going to be in the red, and we can't forget about our pensions. It was very brilliant of you to be bringing that up. So thank you.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Dutra, a second by Garcia. Discussion on the motion. Councilmember Bilicich.
You know, you know how I feel about the third fire station, paramedic station, whatever you want to call it. I talk about it every week, every meeting. But I also realize the pensions, and that's a real need in our community right now. I hope, though, that at some point, whether it's, I don't know, a special fund, whether it's Measure G funds or something, our community is continuing to grow. I'm very concerned about the east side and the number of seniors there, and we need to do something about a third type of station on that side of town. But I will be supporting this.
Thanks for speaking to the motion. Councilmember Kaufman Gomez.
And again, this is based on people coming to this community, which is the tourism pocket that we're after. And obviously, it's not coming out of the pocket of the consumers that are within this community here itself. But we do need to make sure that we can do better in promoting ourselves. And I would actually like to see us do a presentation, whether it's Maggie Ivy, and finding out where the money's being spent, what kind of tourist dollars are coming in here, what's the most effective way that our tourism is working for us, and items or suggestions of what we can do for those type of improvements. So this is an offset to approving this or putting the vote to this particular item, but as it relates to tourism.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yeah, I'll give it a little bit on this. Have we have a dialogue with the owners of the hotels on this?
We have had some conversations with a couple of the hotels we mentioned earlier that we've been working closely with. The Valley Inn was one example where we've done quite a bit of work with them. We have not done an extensive outreach campaign to all of the hotel owners.
And I bring that up because, I mean, we want to bring in more tourism. And again, we're going to be hopefully increasing the 1% tax on it. But we also want to return back a little bit back to the industry to hopefully help it boost. And they're going to be a partner in this because at the end of the day, they're also giving up part of their earnings or gains. So I was just wondering if we had better outreach with these hotel owners on this subject, because obviously they're the ones that are going to, if anybody's going to oppose it, they're the ones that are going to be bringing up folks opposing this tax.
And I appreciate that question, Councilmember Gonzalez, and it's our intent, as we've been talking about this evening and several of the council members have brought up, to look for opportunities for us to do more local advocacy of our hospitality industry and our hotels. There is the Visit Santa Cruz, and we will be inviting them to come and make a presentation about what they're doing to promote Watsonville and South County specifically. But we know that there could be more done. And so part of these funds, in addition to raising the operating standards, we'll be looking at ways of how can we attract more customers into Watsonville, benefiting the hotels as well. We also know in conversations with some of the developers and not just the hotels that are in the pipeline, but others down the road, that developing hotels is becoming more and more expensive. And so TOT sharing opportunities are something a lot of communities do to try to attract and incentivize more hotel development. By increasing the tax rate, it also gives us the opportunity to make some of those investments in partnership with some of the operators that you're mentioning. So I appreciate that question.
Thanks.
Thank you for all the comments of the council. You know, the Monterey Bay area is going to remain a premier tourist destination. People come all over the world to Monterey and Santa Cruz, and we're right in there in the middle. And if you look at the pricing of our lodging, it's generally cheaper than those other ends of the bay. And so I think that this won't inhibit anyone from coming here. In fact, I know some people don't want any more people to come here, but I think that everybody likes the economic boost that tourism provides and its minimal impact and its positive impact. And so anything we can do to promote visitor serving, and this will certainly be a mechanism to help support the industry in some way. We have a motion on the floor and a second. We're ready for roll call.
Bilicich?
Yes.
Kaufman Gomez?
Yes.
Dutra?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Hurst?
Yes, and so approved. Thank you very much, council. And we'll have that continued dialogue. Now we're at the point in our meeting that people have been waiting for, and some of the people have been waiting for decades, if not years. So we're sorry to keep you so late here this evening. This is our new business, consideration of a sister city partnership with the city of Ojotepec, Jalisco, Mexico, which includes San Pedro Tezistan, San Juan Cosala, San Cristobal Zapotitlan, Chantepec, and Zapotitlan de Hidalgo. I'm sorry I murdered those, but I'll pay my dues when the sister city comes in, that's for sure. The reason I say people have been waiting for this is that I remember in another century when I was a councilman, the people said, hey, why don't we have a sister city in Ojotepec? Why don't we do that? And the answer is still the same. Let's get it together. So we're going to have a presentation, a chance for the city council questions, public input, and then we'll see where we're at.
You could cue up the video now. Save time.
Thank you for your patience, and thank you for waiting so patiently.
Thank you. My name is Antonio Navarro. I'm going to give the presentation for Sister City. As Mr. Druta said, stand and be a voice of those that don't have one, so I am that voice. While you're listening to me, you could see what Ojotepec is. Over here we have an aerial. Oh, you have your own little cameras. Okay. First, I'd like to thank the City Council members, family, and friends for giving me the time and effort to establish a sister city partnership with the city of Ojotepec, San Pedro Tezistan, Jalisco, Mexico. Although the city of Watsonville currently has 4 sister city relationships with Kawakami Mira, Japan, Trangancícuaro, Michoacán, Mexico, Tingui City of Zhejiang Province, China, San Pedro Mashuat, El Salvador. We want to form a long-term cooperation through which cultural, educational, business, and technical exchange take place. It is also understood that the city may have any number of sister cities. We're watching here an aerial of Jocotepec, Jalisco, Mexico. Susutepec was the name given to Jocotepec by its first Nahuatl settlers. The last of the nomadic bands of settle in this area were Porpechay Tarascans. It became a permanent home for the Nahuatl in 1361. Susutepec later became Silotepec, meaning hill of ear of corn. Finally, with the arrival of the Spaniards in 1529, the settlement's name became Jocotepec and was interpreted as meaning hill of guavas. The meaning of Jocotepec is thusly derived Joco, Tepec, K, meaning Joco, acid, Tepet, hill, and K, place. Jocotepec is a city, county, municipality located in the state of Jalisco, south of Guadalajara, along the shores of Lake Chapala, which is the largest lake in Mexico. As of the 2015 Intercensal Survey, lists the population of 46,521, which San Juan Cosala, San Cristobal, Zopitlan, Chantepec, Zopitlan, and San Pedro Tezistan. Miles Ryder discovered Jocotepec's mild climate and fertile land in the 1990s. And soon after, a partnership with Jocotepec local growers started growing blackberry, raspberry, and blueberries. Watsonville is the home to Driscoll and Ryder affiliated company, which since then has exchanged labor force between Jocotepec and Watsonville. Okay, can we go on to the next one? So I also like to speak about San Pedro Tezistan, and most of the people backing me are from that area. So we have another little presentation. We just saw Jocotepec, and our next is San Pedro. So while he gets everything programmed, I'll continue. Well, in San Pedro Tezistan, a rock's throw south of Jocotepec, early as 1949, the Bracero program was implemented. Jesus Navarro began growing berries in San Juan Road, where Driscoll's office now stands. Jesus Navarro began growing berries in San Juan Road, where Driscoll's office now stands. He like Driscoll's and Realtor Exchange Labor Force, Jesus Navarro between San Pedro Tezistan and Watsonville, thus bringing the backbone of labor to Watsonville. 90% of the people from San Pedro Tezistan, which include the Barajas family, the Fuentes family, the Hernandez family, the Navarros, the Paces, the Renterias, the Robledos, and Soto, Valencia, just to name a few, have formed the fabric of what is now Watsonville. Together, Jocotepec, San Pedro Tezistan have had a positive effect in our economy. Irma Navarro works in cosmetology, Jerry Navarro, Nob Hill grocer, and a manager. Ramon Fuentes, realtor, associates. Jose Luis Medina from Jocotepec, he has carbon bikes here on Main Street that ships all over the world. Gus Paz, longtime Watsonville wrestling coach. Peter Navarro, who follows in his father's footsteps with Navarro Farms and continues to be a center for people coming in and providing jobs. Ignacio Nacho Valencia, Parks and Rec. Antonio Navarro, Watsonville High tennis coach, 25 years, school teacher working with special needs kids at Cesar Chavez Middle School. Lonnie Clasco Navarro, adoption agency helping kids get adopted. Karina Navarro, engineer, a graduate from Stanford and Ivy League, Swarthmore. So these are the positive effects that have come from our area, Jocotepec and San Pedro Tezistan. Miles Ryder and local residents who have roots in Jocotepec, its municipality that includes San Juan Cosola, San Cristobal, Sopotitlan, Chaltepec, Sopotitlan de Hidalgo, and San Pedro Tezistan have requested that the council consider establishing a sister city partnership with Jocotepec and its townships. On February 28, 2018, Jocotepec Municipal Government approved forming a sisterhood committee to establish a sister city with Watsonville in order to exchange technology, commerce, culture. So whereas the city of Watsonville desires to establish a sister city relationship with the community of Jocotepec, Jalisco, Mexico, with a hope that it will lead to the lasting friendship between the people of Watsonville and Jocotepec, Jalisco, Mexico, and San Pedro. Now, therefore, be resolved by the City Council of the City of Watsonville, California, as follows. 1, that the Sister City Partnership is hereby established between the government of Jocotepec and its townships, like San Pedro, for the purpose of exchanging technology, commerce, and culture. That the city clerk is hereby directed to send copies of this resolution to Jocotepec, Jalisco, Mexico, and the Embassy of Mexico. That the mayor is hereby authorized to execute a sister city agreement with the municipal government of Jocotepec, Jalisco, Mexico. That concludes so as you see, we must move forward and just see the things over there. What I have here, people, if you have any questions for me that I can't answer, we'll just answer them for you.
Thank you very much. I want to make sure everybody who wants to speak on this issue can speak, and so if you wish to address us now, that's fine, or if you want to respond to the council's questions, that's good too. So if you have something to say, give it a shot.
Good evening, council members. My name is Peter Navarro, and as Tony, my cousin, mentioned, I'm a second-generation farmer here in Watsonville. My father, who's now deceased, and my mother, who's here with me, they came here in the early 60s, and actually my father, he came here in the 50s, and along with my uncle, Juan Navarro, they were probably the first Hispanic growers to have their own crop of strawberries here in Watsonville. So as a result, they started with strawberries, then grew blackberries. So the people of San Pedro, they came here knowing that they would have a job. My father guaranteed them that if they came, they had a job here with them. So as the generations passed, it continued. People would come and they'd go to work with him. And And then they would start families, and their families started to branch out. So the population of Watsonville is, in large part, from San Pedro, has come here and has stayed here and has now branched out. I mean, it's a little morbid, but if you go to the cemetery, Valley Catholic, you'll find a lot of people from San Pedro that are now buried here. That's how long the tradition has been. So I would hope that you would look favorably on this proposal, because there is a very strong connection between Watsonville, San Pedro, Jocotepec, and that whole general area. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Anyone else wish to address us? This is a great time.
Hi, my name is Haley Williams, and I'm here representing Driscoll's. Driscoll's has been operating in Watsonville for over 100 years, and when we first expanded operations to Mexico, Jocotepec was the first place that we began to grow there. Driscoll's is very much in support of and excited for this formal recognition of the partnership between these two very similar agricultural cities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That speaks volumes. Anyone else? We'll see if the council has any questions that, please address us. And then we'll take some questions.
Good evening. My name is Olga Fuentes, and I think that most of you know me, and it's a privilege and honor to let you all know that this is my hometown. I was actually born in Jocotepec back in 1971, and it's really beautiful to be part of this community, and I'm eager to go back to Jocotepec with my team and really make this a awesome collaboration. And I think it would be we would be practicing what Dolores Huerta said: El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. And I think that despite of the government, what's going on, if we were to actually work together, this is what community is about. And we definitely can move forward and make it happen. So I hope it does get approved. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and that's my hope as well. You know, we've had this discussion a lot. You know, we've received letters, we've received phone calls, we've had meetings. There's a buildup in the community, and I'm so glad it's finally here today. Let's see what the council has got to say about any questions. Oh, please do.
I'm Dr. Lupe Rivas, and I'm a resident of District 7. And I had the pleasure of attending the delegation that went to El Salvador last year. So I want to say, in reflection of that trip, it was really an eye-opener for me to see other cultures. I'm a Latina, I'm a Hispanic, but I never grew up in Mexico. I never went in Salvador. So I was born in Texas. So for me, sometimes you see people from other countries and you kind of assume certain things about other people from other countries. Going to El Salvador and having traveled to Mexico a few times, you get to see why the people want to come here. That you get to see the richness of the countries, you get to see the beauty of the places. So I would encourage you to vote in favor of the sister city, because I think you will get a lot of it out of information too, a lot of rich experiences of seeing other cultures, seeing what they're doing, see how the people are living over there. So it's not just for the sake of the sister city, the other sister city, but it's also for our sake, for us to get to see how they live, how they intermingle with each other, their culture, the beauty of their country. Because not everybody wants to come to the United States. People are really happy to be there, but there's a lot of poverty, and so I think it would benefit our city for us to become a sister city with this particular city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the delegation wish to address us? Feel free.
Hello, everyone. My name is Esmeralda Fernandez. I just want to say that you all forgot La Familia Ramirez, so I'm here representing. So my mom is from San Pedro, and I just want to give a quick story about the relationship that we have had for years now, and from here in Watsonville, from San Pedro, from Jocotepec. One example of that was my brother, who worked in the fields here for years. Tomorrow would have been his birthday. He would have been 52, and tomorrow will be his first year since he's been gone. But something that I want to share about him is that he took everything that he learned here. He was born and raised in San Pedro. He came here, he learned as much as he could, and he took it back to San Pedro, which is what he always loved to share with us, how proud he was of all the work ethic that he was able to achieve here and how he was able to take it back over there and just expand that, take it back to everybody over there and share that with others. So I'm really excited for this. I actually just found out about it maybe a month ago from Felipe Hernandez, who shared that. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate everybody, all the work that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you very much for speaking this evening. Anyone else wish to address us on this item?
Victor Morani, Par Valley Community Alliance. I just want to acknowledge Mayor Hurst. I know when you first took the oath in December, one of your priorities with the 150th year of Watsonville was to really define and expand the roles of the sister cities that we already had, and also let people in the community with the various cultural groups have a feeling like they could step forward and make something happen. This is clearly way overdue, and it's really exciting to see happen. I was privileged to work a little bit behind the scenes with Miles Ryder, and I know the strong partnership with Driscoll's really helps propel this and make this happen. Also, last Sunday, I was at the Saco barbecue, and those kids had just come back from Croatia. They were all excited because the World Cup tomorrow at 11:30 between Croatia and England, by the way, little side commercial. But with the young people, I think this is probably the most exciting thing, having been a lifelong educator and coach myself, seeing how when the young people go back and they actually are part of the original culture, it just is such more meaningful for everybody, multi-generational. And I think that's what you're hearing here from these stories. And what's really exciting, once again, I commend the mayor on this, is he sort of made it a level playing field. And he said, hey, if you're with the Croatian community, or if you're with the Sons and Daughters of Italy, or if you're with the Portuguese community, or whatever it is, if you can follow these basic things and have the people interested and step forward and do these other things, then you too perhaps can have a sister city. So I think this is just amazing and wonderful, and I think we definitely should support it unanimously, and hopefully even place some budget towards keeping these relationships going. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much. The work that you did with Miles in trying to get this moving with the community as well as the industry, that helped, kind of unplug some of the log jams that we'd historically had. And so thank you, Victor. Who's got a question from the council on this? Are you sold yet, or do you need to hear some more? Let's go with Councilmember Kaufman Gomez.
I certainly don't have any selling points, and I think I've repeated this as well. My capstone project was to establish a sister university relationship with Querétaro, Mexico, and CSUMB. So I'm proud with being able to also contribute with the sister city relationships. Do you have the format that we have here in terms of the language and the criteria that we've used for our other cities, sister cities?
I do.
Okay, so you know what is expected from both sides in the contribution and whatnot? Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yes, we're looking forward to this because it helps set the stage for other sister cities. And, we are a member of the International Sister City Organization, and we're trying to, follow all their guidelines and rules. And we want to be fair and equal about our sister cities, too, and make sure that every group that wants to have a sister city can appeal to us and can organize and can bring us that international connection that I think many of the residents of Watsonville really want to have. Councilmember Garcia.
I'm just so excited. My parents, my father was a bracero from Michoacan. My mother came from Guanajuato, but I don't know Mexico hardly at all. So two things. One, to staff, could we have a map that shows where the locations of these states are, Jalisco and Michoacan is, so we have a better sense of who we're becoming a sister city with?
I did the PowerPoint presentation, and I originally had one of the map, and I was going, okay, it's supposed to be under 5 minutes. So I cut a lot of things out from this, but it's located in central or south of Guadalajara.
South of Guadalajara, it's closer to Michoacán then.
Yes, it's right near, they're neighbors, Michoacán and.
On the other side of Chapala.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a
So
better
if you
sense.
go east, you got Ajijí, and then if you go west, you got San Pedro, you got Michoacán, Gómez Farias on that side.
Oh, I know Gómez
Okay.
Farias.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have a better sense then.
On the shores of Lake Chapala, and there's a great Google map you can look at. It'll jump out at you.
Well, and I just wanted to say, I'm just so excited because it gives me an excuse to be able to go visit Mexico. So thank you.
I'll move the motion.
Let's hear what Mr. Dutra's got to say, but there is a motion, and how about a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. That was
got
motion
6 seconds.
motion by Kaufman Gomez, second by Hernandez. Mr. Dutra?
Thank you for coming and bringing this. It's always nice to. I always thought you'd be maybe wearing some hat or something, representing the local area.
I thought about that,
You
too.
should have. I don't expect anything less. Come on, Tony. But it makes me think. My family's from Jalisco as well, and so now I was just texting my mom like, "What part of Jalisco are we from?" And so she's like, "You have to ask your tia," and I'm like, "Okay." So I'm gonna definitely look because both my grandfather and my grandmother are from Jalisco. So this is really nice to build this kind of a community, and so I'm definitely going to be supportive of this, and it's going to be bringing up a conversation that I'll go to my grandma's house tomorrow and be like, where were we, talk to me. But thank you, and I'm going to support it. Thank you.
Councilmember Gonzalez, then Hernandez.
I think this is always exciting. Growing up here in Watsonville, and my parents coming from the Estado de Mexico, they took us almost every year back to Mexico, so we wouldn't forget our roots. But as an adult, I went to visit my parents. They both passed away already, but when they were alive, I went to visit them, and they took me for a tour of Michoacán. And I'm a fisherman. I like to fish. So Chapala, the Lake Chapala for me was like, oh, bass. That's the best place to go get bass. But anyway, so we're taking this road trip, and it's like mountains are curvy, and I see the lake, but my mom is in the front with my dad, and he goes, "Hey, honey, this lake wasn't here last time we came." And I'm like, "Wait, but this is Chapala, how can I not be here?" But anyways, it is a beautiful country. But the most important part thing is I think we need to continue to make the connections. Being if you're Italian, Croatian, Filipino, Japanese, and Mexicans, Mexicanos y Salvadoreños y Guatemaltecos, especially for our youth, to remember that we are all together in this world. You may be living in Jalisco, but you do have family here in Watsonville.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hernandez.
After hearing the presentation and looking at some of the language on the resolution, on the fourth whereas, if the committee would allow, if we can add that, I know that we've been that community has been, what do you call it? It's been a migratory focal point for them to come here and work initially in the apple industry, and then later in the strawberry industry, and many now have become growers. And I would like to be sure if we can reflect that on the resolution, that many came as the workforce, but many have gone on and become growers in the Pajaro Valley as well. For the Driscolls, for Ryder, some for Giant and Nature Ripe. So if we can reflect that on the resolution, if the committee would allow that on the fourth whereas, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Well, you are the seconder of the motion, so talk to the
Maker.
talk to the maker of the motion.
The maker and the folks, if they would allow that as well. If we can, on the fourth whereas, to add that many have gone on to become growers here in the Pajaro Valley.
Yes.
Okay.
Have you been with an apple background there as well?
Yes. When I came, I picked strawberries, berries,
Yeah.
apples, squash, tomato. I did them all.
Well, no, I'm thinking of this particular area, this region that was chosen to do the berries. Had this particular region been harvested with apples? I mean, did they grow apples there?
No.
Now, so when you came over, did you come over for the apples or did you come over with the berries?
I came over with my uncle.
Well, yeah,
so,
who wasn't a berry, I'm sure.
And
but
we
Good
picked
move.
berries.
Okay, so were apples?
No, Harkins Slough area.
Because I think that they would have been afterwards. The apples would have been before the berries in terms of the evolution.
Yeah, it would have, yeah.
So,
No, I remember Watsonville being apples everywhere, and I was sadly to see every year less and less and less. So to me, that's really sad to see all that beauty that was the apples.
I'm fine as the maker of the motion to make those revisions if you're comfortable with it in terms of the relationship you want with the language that you want us to have available that can be reciprocated with the community down in Mexico.
Okay, thank you.
Well, let's don't get lost in all the whereases here, but let's make it real, and let's make it as real as possible. And that's going to include the participation of everybody who really wants to participate in this. And this will be a model for other sister cities. And I hope that you'll be able to attend the Kawakami function when it takes place next month, because they are the originators of our sister city international relations. And I think we've had adequate questions, and did the manager wish to make a comment here at this point?
No additional comments, Mayor. Thank you.
That's a smart move, too. That shows great wisdom, I think. Seeing that there's no further discussion on the motion, let's call for the roll call, and let me say that people have waited decades for this. And I can't wait to get back to the Chapala area and see all those fish jumping out.
Yulisic?
Yes.
Copman Gomez?
Yes.
Dutra?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
And Hurst.
Yes, and congratulations, so approved. Making history here. We have made history again tonight, so I would just want to say thank you to the Driscolls and the writers and the Navarro families and everybody else that's involved in this, because we couldn't have done this without the push that came from the community. And so we should be proud of our actions and our history making tonight. Thank you very much for being here. Let's see if there's any further emergency items to add to our agenda. Do we have an emergency yet? Good. Any requests for scheduling for future agenda items sometime in the distant future? Councilmember Bilicich, then...
Not too distant, not too distant future. I think we need to talk about fireworks. First of all, we need to have, I noticed on the news last night there was a tidbit that they had confiscated a lot of fireworks from Watsonville, illegal fireworks. I think it would be great to have an update and then to maybe also consider what we're going to do with the fireworks issue. It's becoming pretty, a lot of people are talking about it and they want something done, so I think we need to discuss it as a council again. That's one item, and then, of course, residential parking.
Okay, clerk's got that, and I think you'd be an ideal ad hoc chairperson for that fireworks subcommittee.
I'll bet you do.
And I think you could get that done before you're termed out in November, too. Now's a good time to talk about it rather than right before the 4th of July, I believe.
Right, no, now's the time.
Thank you. So the clerk has that noted. Councilmember Kaufman, or Councilmember Garcia.
Our youth program, Summer in the City, which will take place 3 weeks, began yesterday, Monday. I would like to request that for our August 28th council meeting, that a couple of the students come and share their experience with the program.
I think it's an excellent idea. I've met two of the interns already, and they're very bright and bushy-tailed and full of good follow-up, I believe. So we can we should have all those interns come by and say hello. Councilmember Gonzalez.
I'd like to put under consideration the noise ordinance, but it has more to reflect with the parties that neighbors have in the neighborhoods. And the concern here is it's not just the one party, but it's the house that is having continuous parties every weekend, and the permitted, the requirements for it and stuff like that. Because that is a big concern for the community, I think, is there is certain locations that are continuously doing this, and it affects the whole neighborhood, especially when you have a full-scale banda playing in your backyard. And,
You know, they used to have,
and you work nights.
yeah, they used to have to rent, you know, halls, and now to save money, many of them just have them at their homes, but it inconveniences everybody.
Well, the thing is that, you know, and this is just actually in my political walks, there was a certain lot that I walked, and it was the next weekend was the same fiesta and the same location. And, you know, I said to myself, I said, well, you know, maybe one a month is fine, but, you know, every weekend, you know, they're putting up the tents, and it just seems like it's either somebody's renting out their locations so people could have parties there, and I think we really need to look at it as a council to address that issue.
And Councilmember Gonzalez, on that note, just so happens that Chief Honda sent me a public service announcement and video that the police department has put together as it's summertime, and those are ramping up to re-educate the community on what's allowed and what's not, because we do have some ordinances that help try to manage that, and we can certainly bring an update back to the council for you all to discuss.
Thank you. So I'm having the same problem in my district, and they know. I've been on all the time. People are throwing parties every single weekend, and,
Yeah.
and the neighbors are getting upset about it. So
I don't think it's so much having a party, it's just the amount of people that you have at your party.
Yeah.
You know, once you jump over, I think, you know, 30 people and you're having a household, it's a
Less
little
of
bit more.
bands, like you said, it's, you know.
Yeah,
it's
you know, yeah,
loud
it's
And the last time
the
I
size of the party, you know what I mean? When you have 10, 20 people at your house.
And the
I mean,
last
it kinda
time
would be
I
doable,
complained
but-
about my neighbor, because they have parties often, my house got egged.
And it wasn't Easter and it wasn't Halloween, huh? Well, I think excessive noise is a big issue in town, and I hear it all the time, too. In fact, I go deaf by it because I live near Green Valley, and there's a lot of motorcycle noise, a lot of hot rod, guys with no mufflers on their cars, and, you know, all kinds of noise. So why don't we get a staff report on excessive noise?
Or excessive parties at homes.
Anything else for the good of the order? Seeing none, we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much for being here this evening.
Have a nice summer.